That way people can study. All right. So we're going to start a new unit. We're going to try to stretch a little bit. And I wasn't going to stretch on rhythm today, but I'm going to with you two here. But we're not going to start with rhythm anyway. We're going to start with melodic intervals. And I don't know how well, I can't remember how well you two did on melodic intervals. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play 3 that are below a fifth as a warm up. And that doesn't make them easy. Melodic intervals are never easy. But then once we get our ears working, I'll play some more that are either fifths or sixths. So we start thinking bigger. I actually find melodic intervals are easier the bigger the range because you can hear the notes more distinctly. Um, in fact, in the advanced class, we're doing tenths and 11ths and 12ths. They get much higher grades than when we do thirds and fourths, which is very interesting to me. But having said that, let's pull out our pencils and papers and let's dig right in. I'll play 3 first that are that are below a fifth, and then I'll play 4 more that are fifths or sixths, and then we will compare what's on the page, and you tell me how you're doing. All right? Are we ready? Well, I can't see you guys because I have finale up, so I'm going to take the profound silence as a yes. And here we go. I'm only going to play each one twice. Here's the first one. If we play that again. Second interval. Let's play that one again. The third interval. And one more time. Now we're moving to fifths and sixths. There's 4 more intervals. And let me do this so I don't mess you up. I have to add a measure. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so here's the next interval. It sounds again. And here's another interval. Second time. Sixth interval. And again. And the last interval. Let's do that one again. Okay, let's just check the answers and see how we did. 1 second. All right. So now we have in front of us the answers. So the first one, I'm going to play them as we do it so we get this in our ears. The first one's a minor third. Sounds like this. Second's a major second. And then we have a major third. Perfect fifth. Now what's this one? Minor sixth. Perfect fifth there. And a major sixth. So if there's any of those you want to hear again, or you want to compare a major to minor or a perfect, or you want to talk about what quality these things have, jump in, guys. Let's have a conversation. How do you recognize these things? How'd you do?
I think I mixed up minor sixth and major sixth.
Okay, so let's give a listen to those. So the minor sixth, and I could, just so you can see one here, the minor sixth is this guy, the major sixth is this guy. They look a lot alike, but an A would normally have an F sharp in the keys. That's how we know it's minor. Minor, a minor sixth has a very sweet and beautiful sound. And remember, if we can hear the two notes, that's the love story theme. Now, if I play the major sixth version of the same notes, it's a brighter sound. It's a very, this is a darker sound, minor sixth, major sixth. And so what I did is I took the minor sixth and I added an F, it made the F a sharp to make it major. So there's minor sixth, major sixth.
I see.
Okay? And then the fifth is very medieval, open sounding. So then warm and then bright.
Okay.
Does that help at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Daviel, do you have a better way of hearing the difference between minor and major sixths?
No, I actually had the same question as Leslie.
Yeah, we haven't done them, so it's not a surprise to get it mixed up. So if you can hear the notes separately, that minor sixth, we know how to hear that. The major sixth is the B, C, if you can hear the notes. But to me, it's a color thing. You just have to get used to dark, bright, dark. And it's like anything else, the brain will wire to hear it if you hear it often enough. And I probably should have played them before we started because we hadn't done them before. So that was bad on me, but it gives me a chance to show it. So let me go to the end of this where I can put some more on here so we can compare and contrast. So I will make it so we can see them. Let's see. Let's do yeah, go ahead.
So do you find it easier to differentiate them by like the tone or the color, like you were saying, or by separating the two notes?
I find color easier for me because I have a lot of trouble separating the notes. I hear chords as a unit, and every chord is different. I hear as a unit. But there's other people, I think Daviel's one of these, who really can separate the notes very easily. And then it's better to separate the notes and just know the intervals. And boom, ba, we know what that interval is, whatever it is, and you just recognize the intervals fast. But not everybody can separate. And I've had a good career as a musician, and I really cannot separate the notes very easily at all. The further apart they are, the easier it is for me to hear them as separate. But I'm so used to hearing chords as units and intervals as units that they're just a block of sound to me. So it all depends on how your ear is built. But if you hear them as color and that works for you, don't change. If you could separate the notes and you can recognize the intervals by the notes, don't change. But do whatever one is most easy for you. Don't try to change who you are, because I tried that. I had a teacher who kept saying, "Sing the notes." I couldn't do it. I was so embarrassed. Once I knew what the interval was, I could sing the notes by knowing the top note and singing down to it because I knew what the interval was. But I couldn't hear the note. I heard the color,
Mm.
and so and I felt really dumb. But I had a performing career. My teacher didn't. So what can I tell you? So I think you have to go with how your brain's wired, and I think you prefer to hear color, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember when we first started doing the harmonic intervals, it was easier to do the color, but then after like hearing them over and over, I was able to like differentiate the two notes. But as soon as we get like higher or not higher, yeah, like above the fifth, it gets a little bit more difficult to differentiate the notes for some reason. And I think it might do because of practice, because I'm like hearing them over and over again.
Yeah, it's practice, and I will tell you that you will actually get the wider skips. You'll differentiate more easily. You'll come faster to you because they're further apart. They're actually easier to separate, but it is practice. Your ears got to get used to hearing the two different notes.
Okay.
So, but if you find that if you hear them often enough, the notes differentiate, and that works for you, then play them until they differentiate. And use that as your method, because most people do that. Most people hear the notes separately and figure it out. I've spent an entire career trying to hear them separately. I used to sit there and just bang out second oboe parts and orchestra parts, and when I was in rehearsal, just try and hear the second oboe. And then I realized I was hearing the first and second together as a unit, which probably is how the audience hears it too. And I never was able to differentiate them, but I could still see if the oboe played a wrong note because the chord was wrong. I would say, second oboe, you're off by half a step. So I did fine. But if they knew I couldn't actually sing their part, they would have laughed at me. On the other hand, they couldn't get away with anything. I could hear it all, so I didn't care. You know. So it's a very long answer to your
No, it was
question.
helpful.
Yeah. All right. So to just see, I'm going to put a couple up here in different orders so we can see them as we hear them. Let's do this one, major to a minor. Yeah, and then we'll do one more from a different point of view, another major to a minor, and then we'll do it the reverse, minor to major. So each of these is a pair. This is a minor going to a major. This is a major going to a minor. This is a major going to a minor. This is a minor going to a major. And I'm going to play them just so we begin to hear them different. I kept the root the same so we can hear the root, and just changed the top so we get a sense of how the intervals are different from each other. Let's try it. I probably should put a little break in between each one just so we could make it easier to tell them apart. Hold on a second, I'll do that. Um, Sorry, this takes me a little longer than I wish it did, but there's no shortcut key that I know about. Whoops. Okay, so let's hear them again, these pairs. Now, I'm going to do one more thing. I don't know if this is useful or helpful or not, but it makes me feel better. I'm going to keep the top note the same and change the bottom note. This will make it easier for you to hear what the bottom note is doing, so you can separate the notes more easily. Let me see. This one that went down, so the bottom has to go up. Oops. Right, so the bottom note goes up. Same here. This one went down, so with the bottom to go up. And one more. I do that right? Let's see. Minor going to major. Okay. Yeah. Change that to a sharp. Same notes. There we go. All right. So now we're going to try to hear the change, but it's the changing notes, the bottom note from minor to major and major to minor. And let's see if we can hear that inner part and start to identify it. And I'm going to make it even easier by doing one more thing. Sorry, guys. I want you to really be able to hear this. So um, there we go. That was wrong. That should have been C sharp. Oh, well. Um, okay, so did that help at all, guys? Did that help you hear it a little bit?
Yeah, that was helpful for me.
Okay. If things aren't helpful, tell me so I don't do them every class. I don't want to waste anyone's time, but I'm happy to experiment and find stuff that's useful and helpful. Okay. Well, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do scales. And you guys do very well on scales, so I'm only going to play these once, but I'm adding a new scale to you, and this is the Dorian scale. So let me explain the difference between Dorian and minor. So in a minor scale, you have a minor bottom. Oh, I have to share again, sorry, to share the sound. Uh-huh. So in a minor scale, you have what we call a minor tetrachord, whole step. And then you have this frigid tetrachord, everything's low. Now, if I go to melodic minor, instead of going low, I go high and I stay up there in a major tetrachord. Three notes that are higher. The Dorian is halfway in between. It starts with the same minor sound at the bottom, and then it does minor at the top. So it's up high, like it's going to go to a melodic minor, but then drops down again. So there's no leading tone. Sorry. So if you hear something that sounds like minor, and then it sounds like it's going to melodic minor, and then it doesn't have a leading tone, that's Dorian. So what I've got is a set of scales. I'm only going to play them once, and I've actually set them up to try and do things by comparison. Let's just see if we can name them. This is the scales we expect to hear, the majors and minors, but there is a Mixolydian and a Dorian. But I'm only going to play it once because you guys are good at this, and if we have trouble with the Dorian, then I'll practice that a little bit more with you. So let's just give this a shot and see how we go. Ready? First scale. Second scale coming up. I'm going to play that pair again because I think the pair is interesting. First scale. Right to the second scale. All right. The third scale. Only going to play it once. And now the fourth scale. And let's hear the fifth and sixth while we're at it. And the last scale coming up. Okay, I'll give you the answers and then I'll practice whatever you want to practice. So the first scale I played is this one here. It's just a D natural minor scale. You can see that that's a half step right there. So there's your Phrygian mode. It sounds like this. But the next scale, what we did is the same notes, except we raised this note, like we're going to do melodic minor, but we did not raise the seventh note. So there's no leading tone. So that's Dorian. I'll show you that. Same minor beginning. The only change is that the sixth degree of the scale is up a half a step. So that's the Dorian. That's the one we haven't heard before. So if it takes a while to learn it, do not worry. Then I did a major and a mixolydian. You'd recognize the major, it's just major, but the mixolydian is just like major, except we don't have a leading tone. So if we can compare them, seventh degree. That's major, probably got that one. And then I just completed the set with the other two minors. So one of them is harmonic minor with this big jump, the augmented second from B flat to C sharp. And the other one is major on the top, minor on the bottom. That's the melodic minor. The first one was harmonic minor. And you can hear them. They all open with minor. With a big leap. And minor with the major on top. Questions and comments? What did you hear? What didn't you hear? What would you like to practice?
Can you say again the combination? So you say the major is at the bottom and the minor is at the top for the melodic one?
No, so minor's at the bottom and major's at the top for melodic minor. So
Okay.
all the minors have minor at the bottom. And then if you have a Phrygian at the top, that's natural minor. If you have major at the top, that's melodic minor. If you have that big leap of the augmented second, that's harmonic minor.
Mhm.
And if you have minor at the top, it's Dorian.
Okay.
Would you like to hear each of those again?
No, because like I can like differentiate like the major and minor sounds, but I'm trying to put the names to it.
Exactly. Getting the names of the modes and figure out how the modes are built. And we've learned the modes in a lot of different ways. And so describing them by the four notes, the tetrachords, is one way, but we've learned it so many different ways. It's hard sometimes to put the names with it. So major is major, major, and that's the Ionian or major scale. Mixolydian is major at the bottom, but it's minor at top. But that just changes the seventh degree. Everything else is the same. Just that takes away the leading tone. In the minor scales, if you have minor at the bottom and then that Phrygian at the top, that low thing, that's your natural minor. If you raise the leading tone and get an augmented second, minor at the bottom, that's harmonic. If you keep your minor at the bottom but put major at the top, you basically sharp everything. That's melodic minor. And then if you have minor at the bottom and then you stick a minor at top, so it sounds at first like melodic, but the leading tone's lower, just like the we do with the Mixolydian, then that's your Dorian mode. And linking up the names to the sounds will take a little bit of time, but if you can hear it, you're 3/4 of the way there. Davia, you doing well with it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, last time we worked on something with scale, with chords, and this was on the exam, and you guys did quite well with it, where we had to hear the three chord sounds. So let me start here. Don't want to give away everything. So, stop that. I'm leaning on my keyboard. Sorry. I don't want to give away everything. So we heard three chords, and the three chords were minor, major, and diminished. And I've got the three of them here so we can remind ourselves of the sound. And again, I know that you can hear the differences. You guys both have really good ears for pitch, but we always want to put names with it. So here's our minor. Here's minor comes first. Wait. Minor. Then major. And diminished is kind of like minor, but has to resolve. It's more urgent. And all chords are harder to hear when it's low. Well, now what I did is I put them all in first inversion. And first inversion, if you're listening to the three notes and trying to pick them out, you have to imagine the chord in inversion. If you're listening for the color of the chords, the color doesn't change. So hopefully, if we now go and try some inversions, we won't have trouble with it. But I'm not going to promise that to you. It depends how you listen. And some people find the inversions really throws you, but I don't want them to. I think we want to find that, yeah, we can recognize these chords even when they're in inversion. So let's give that a try. Why not? Because, last Tuesday, my wife just waved to me, so I have to wave back. There we go. Why not? So here we go with the sounds again. I just have to, do I have a shared sound now? Make sure I got the right share happening, guys. Good. So try these chords and tell me if they're major, minor, or diminished. Starting with this one. I'll play each twice. And again. The second chord. Sorry. Oops, I've had a little trouble with my computer. Sorry, guys. Not computer error, operator error. Here it is again. And the last one. Let's play that one again. Okay. So let's now go and do a reshare it and see if we got the right answers. There we go. So here are our three chords. And you see that the first one is a diminished chord. I don't know if you can see it, but it's A, C, E flat when you put it in root position. The second is a major chord. In fact, it's C major. And the third one is a minor chord. So those are our three sounds. I only played one of each just to see how we do. We've never done inversions before. Tell me how you did, what you heard, what you need practice on.
What was the first one again?
First one was a diminished chord.
Oh, okay.
So if we compare the sound of the diminished to the minor, here's your diminished chord. There's a certain, to my mind, an urgency. Like it's, this is why they use this in horror movies all the time, because it's got to resolve. There's an urgency. It's got a very minor sound, but there's a longing in it to resolve. Whereas if I go to the minor chord, well, that's not the minor, here's the minor chord. Whoa, come on, get back there. And here's the minor chord. It's a very similar quality, but it's more stable, if that makes any sense. Can we hear the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the two hardest to distinguish for me. The major, I can tell pretty easily. I don't know about you guys. What would you like to hear? What would you like to practice? Nothing. All right, I'm going to rhythm. Now, rhythm is really interesting because some of the people with the best ears have trouble with rhythm, and also the 3/4 rhythm is harder than the 4/4, which interests me because it's the same rhythms. It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2. Ba 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 is the syncopation. Doesn't matter if it's a 3/4, 4/4, but people are used to sort of a square 1 2 1. It's supposed to 1 2 3 1 2 3. So even though the tempo's the same, I found that people really had trouble with 3/4. So I'm going to play a couple one measure and two measure things. You only have one chance to get it down because you guys are the stars. So I'm not going to waste your time. But I do think it's really worth hearing these patterns. So what I've got is I've got three distinct patterns. I will play each one once. Each one's a measure or two measures of 3/4. And the tempo is to something like about here. Bop, 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 bop. So by clapping, one, that's quarter note. It may be a little faster. They play out note. An eighth note's just half of that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So it's the same thing we do with 4/4, the same patterns, but the accent's a little different. So let's play each one of these. The first one's one measure long. Here we go. I'll play it one time because I got the tempo wrong. 1 and 2, and that's the tempo. Here we go. Again. The second one is two measures long, but it's only the first measure that really counts. Here we go. One time through. I have another one that's very similar. It's two measures, but the second measure doesn't really count. Let's hear that one once. Here we go. One, ready, go. All right. Let's just take a look at those and see how we did on one hearing. See if we're getting faster and better at these rhythms. So the first one is just eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3. That's all it is. 1 and 2 and 3. The second rhythm is the one that most people have trouble with. It's 1, 2, and 3. Or actually, in this case, it's 2, 3, and 1. It's that dotted rhythm where things take a beat and a half. 1 and 2, ba, ba, da, da, ba. And so you can hear that and memorize it, or you could just think that this is on the second half of a beat. So something has to take a beat and a half. And what's a beat and a half? It's either a quarter dotted or quarter tied to an eighth, which are the same thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 1. The last rhythm we looked at was this one. 1 and 2 and 3. That's the syncopation. Ba 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 ba. 1 and ba ba. And you can see that this one is really two eighth notes tied together, same as a quarter note, because you need to have four quarter notes to make up two beats, four eighth notes, to make up two beats. So those are my rhythms. How did you guys do? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down on that.
Well, there's no way to give thumbs down on Zoom. So I'm
Okay, let's make thumbs up the thumbs up. Let's make applause the thumbs down. How's that? Thumbs up or applause?
well, I just wanted to say it out loud because I didn't get like the whole thing wrong, but the second one I got pretty wrong.
This second one here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give this a listen, and I'm going to sort of show it to you. Let's look at this second one. This is the one that most people get wrong, and I will tell you, on 2 and 3 hearings, you would have gotten it right. But I really wanted to see how comfortable we are with these patterns. So if we listen to it first. Now I'm going to go and draw my lines because I have got the technology to do that. So you can see that there's a beat, one beat, two beats, and then the third beat falls in between here, right there. And that's how you know that this next one has to be an and of. If I take the subdivided beats, it's one and put a little dotted line there. Wait, one. Come on, where are you? One. It's not gonna let me do it. It's gonna make me stick them to a beat. Oh, that's mean. But there's a eighth note there, 2 and 3 and this and is right there. See if I get that one to at least give me a little dotted rotate for the and. Yeah. Um, so if we hear it again, here's our beat. 2. Now that won't line up exactly, so I'll have to let it play. You have to keep the beat yourself. Does that rhythm make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Is it getting easier, or am I just confusing the issue?
No, I just needed to listen to it a second time, I think.
I
Because I
think
wasn't
so.
sure about the big beats.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it takes 2 listenings and 3 listenings, and sometimes if you're tired, 6 listenings, but I just wanted to see where we were at our comfort level. If you do this on 1 listening, we don't have to practice it. We only want to find the ones that are tough. Leslie, how'd you do?
I know I didn't do well on this part in the test, so I was
Yeah.
going over it right now.
Yeah, and did you feel better having seen this now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you the final way to find out if we really do feel better, because now I'm going to play a 4-measure pattern, and I will play this one 3 times. And let's see how we do. It's 4 measures of 3/4, and I will play it 3 times. And let's just see if we can put these patterns together. All right. Let me see. I got to change this share again. Zoom has got to make a faster way to switch out seeing the screen to not seeing the screen. That'll come in a decade when we won't need it. Here we go, 3 times through. Ready? Here we go. Hey, let's do that one again. Here we go. Again. And one more time. Now I'm going to show you the answer, but I'm going to show you the one thing I did. I changed the very first rhythm. The very first rhythm we heard was ba 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 ba, and I changed it to ba 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 ba. I changed that because that was just too straight. But the other rhythms were the ones we've already practiced. Ba 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 is the second rhythm, and then ba 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 is the third rhythm. And the reason I did that is that rhythm gets easier when you start seeing larger patterns and not just trying to count each individual note, because you get very confused as you're clapping. But if you recognize a pattern of notes, then you can say, okay, that's that pattern, and then you're looking at fewer numbers. So this was the second measure we practiced. This was the third measure we practiced. And then we put it all together. We've got 4 complete measures. Actually, quite a long bit of complicated rhythm. Um, comments. Was that good, or was that a train wreck, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between for me.
Okay. Okay, I got 1 thumbs up and 1 somewhere in between. So I don't have time to practice it more now, but I will continue to practice this. Um, it's funny. That's actually a lot of rhythms. That's why I love to break. If you can hear the syncopation and the dotted note and that pattern, it's a lot fewer rhythms to have to remember. But there's a lot going on, and so we'll practice that more. And I think some of your colleagues would like some practice time on that too. All right, you get to decide, guys. There's 7 minutes left. I could either do some 6/8 or I could do some 2-part dictation. Which would you rather do? You each get a vote, and I'm the tiebreaker.
I could use practice on, so
Which one, Leslie?
I could use a practice for both, so it's
Okay.
up to Davia what I want
Davia,
to
what do you want to
do.
work on?
I'd say two-part dictation.
Okay. So I've got both a 2-part and a 1-part, and the 1-part is in minor, the 2-part's in major, and the 2-part is much simpler rhythm. But I think we're going to do the 2-part to get our ear used to it. And if time permits, we'll run the other one to just get our first shot at minor. I don't know, we'll get to it. So what I've got is 3 measures. It's in 3/4 time. But I really didn't want rhythm to play a part in this. I really want us to get used to doing hearing the 2 parts. So I will tell you in advance, it's all quarter notes. It gets harder when I put the rhythm back in, but I think the rhythm makes it very hard for us to hear at first. So I'll put that into on Tuesday. What we'll do this time is we're just going to hear the 2 parts, and the notes. Quarter notes is the key of G major, G major. The top line starts on a B natural, middle of the staff. Bottom line starts on a G, top of the staff. By the way, on the exam, this interested me. I thought I gave the instructions pretty clearly. A number of people started their bass on the wrong note, and that interested me. So I'm going to try to be very clear. The bass starts on a G. G as in good person, at the top of the staff, and the treble, the soprano part, starts on a B, as in bug, at the middle of the staff. Bravo, in the middle of the staff. All quarter notes, 3 bars of 3/4. Let's see if we listen to the top and the bottom each 3 times, if we can get it. Here we go. Uh-huh. Yes. You almost were able to hear that. If you were clairvoyant, you would have gotten that dictation. Now you'll actually be able to hear it. Here we go. Let's do it again. And the third time. No, sorry. Now let's reverse it, starting on a G. Again. And one more time. I know we rushed through it, guys, but here's the answer. Starting at the B, everything is scale-wise. And even on the bottom, everything is scale-wise. So there were no leaps at all. So it was, and we stopped on the same note that we ended. And the bottom part, I have to switch, yeah. 1 second. And the bottom part, really? Again, stepwise. I wanted us to be able to just try and hear the 2 voices, so I made it I won't say easy, but simpler in the sense I didn't put skips in. I didn't put eighth notes in. It's just the beginning of a practice round. We're going to make it harder on Tuesday. How did you guys do with that?
I found it fairly easy.
Yeah. So one of the things I think is that if you've got enough listenings, now sometimes you do this on an exam in a graduate school, they give you 2 listenings, period, for both parts, and you're doomed. But if you know you can have enough hearings, I would try to get the rhythm or something out of the way fast, because if you just have the notes to deal with, you do very well. It's when you try to do both at once that it's really, really hard. So I think that if you just jot down the rhythm on the first time, you'll remember a lot of the notes for the next time around. I mean, you'll keep the tune will stick in your head. But if you do that, then you're not worried about rhythm anymore. You've got the rhythm down. Now you're just trying to fit the pitches where you know they're going to be. Because a lot of people did great on rhythm when it's by itself, messed up the rhythm on the 2 and 3, the 2 part. And that's interesting to me. But I think it's that our brain could do one or the other, but it's hard to do both. So why not embrace that and do one or the other instead of trying to do both at once? I think it's sometimes important to realize that the human brain has limitations, not your brains, the human brain in general. And sometimes it's best to just accept that and focus on one thing at a time. I don't know if that's the best strategy. And I know people who take these dictations down as fast as you can play them, and they seem to do both things at once. But I think those are space aliens. I don't think they're humans. That's my belief. I think that we've been visited by extraterrestrials, and they're taking ear training tests at some of the conservatories. That's all I can imagine. Um, but in the meantime, does that give us a start? We're out of time today, um, but I hope that this was useful to you, and I hope it was useful to me to plan the next class accordingly. And I'll see you tomorrow for regular session, and Monday and Tuesday eventually for lab. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys. Bye, bye.